Usually when a movie wins this many Oscars, it lives up to the hype, and it usually is something that I want to watch with my dad. In this case, I'm glad I didn't watch it with him, and I also don't know that I watched the same movie as the one that won all these awards. Hi y'all, SnarkyJay cosplay here. As of the time of this video's recording, the Oscar-winning film Anora has now been out on Hulu for a few days, and admittedly, I had not had a chance to watch it before I heard it was nominated for and eventually won Oscars, probably because I had just never heard of it. This film won 5 Oscars. It won Best Picture, Best Original Screenplay, Best Director, Best Actress, and it also got Best Editing, so I thought, I've got to sit down and watch Anora. And to be completely honest, I don't get the hype. I do have to go ahead and apologize in this video. If you hear any tapping noises or whimpering or anything weird, it's because I just picked up this guy yesterday and he's kind of a stage 5 clinger. So I have him in here with me, but I can't promise that he's not gonna make any noise. Either way, this is Torgal. He's named after the dog in Final Fantasy 16. I will not have any criticism for the name. Torgal apologizes in advance for any puppy noises. He doesn't mean to cause any trouble. So with that being said, I want to jump right into my review. Like I said, before the Oscars, I had never even heard of Anora. So to be honest, I went into this movie not even having read the synopsis. I just saw the title on Hulu and I said I might as well go for it. I saw a lot of people, both pre and post Oscars, referring to this film as a masterpiece. And while I certainly don't think it was a bad movie, I don't know that by any stretch of the imagination, I personally would refer to it as a masterpiece. It does have some very clever stuff into it and some great themes that I really want to talk about in depth way later in the review. But for now, I want to give you guys my rating, and I personally gave Anora a 4 out of 10. On the one hand, it's a pretty basic Cinderella story gone wrong sort of thing, and to be completely honest, it felt pretty predictable. I kind of identified exactly where it was going to go from the beginning. But on the other hand, I feel like this whole thing, the way it played out, had a lot more potential had the script delivered on a little bit more. Personally, I felt a lot of the performances were completely over the top. I thought the script was lacking, especially in some of the dialogue. And I think probably one of the most annoying parts about this movie, which is crazy because there was a lot of shit in this movie that annoyed me, the music was absolutely atrocious. I get that it was supposed to be like 2025 strip club music, but it also just was driving me nuts. Holy shit, I've never seen music use the word so many times. Even though I didn't feel like Anora as a film experience really spoke to me, I don't think that means the film had nothing to say. I actually latched on to some of the themes in this film and thought they were brilliant in the way that they were told, but to me it didn't work in the film's general execution. And I think it's really easy to overlook some of the impact due to how weird I thought the pacing of this film was. The only part of this movie that actually had me like locked in where I was really enjoying it was maybe the last 30 to 40 minutes. This is a 2.5 hour movie, so it's not exactly a quick watch. And unfortunately, when only the last 30 to 40 minutes are worth watching, it means that I've already kind of shut down from the first parts of the movie. The first 30 to 35 minutes are basically a look how much we like to party and fest. It felt like a real slog to get through, and I feel like they could have said all that they said and established all that they established in half the time. The middle portion for me feels like a Russian-Armenian Three Stooges meets Wild Goose Chase sort of thing. And while there were moments of humor that I appreciated, they always felt like they were taking me out of some greater experience. And there's a lot of just stuff that felt extraneous. And a big chunk of this movie sort of feels like if you put the 10 worst people you knew into a room and just let them start arguing with each other, that's what you would get. This is technically an indie film. It was made for $6 million, and I do have to say it doesn't look particularly cheap, but there were some choices in the cinematography and camera moves that I didn't appreciate. I don't know if that was on purpose or due to a limited budget, but there were just some things within it that felt overly chaotic. A lot of the movie actually feels kind of claustrophobic in an odd way, and I think that that for sure was a stylistic choice. It feels like Sean Baker really wanted you to feel like you were part of the action, like you were in this room, but unfortunately, because I wasn't really connecting with most of the characters, and so much of it was borderline reality TV level shouting. I felt like I wanted out, not like I wanted in. Like, you know when you're walking out of a Dave & Buster's and there's a married couple that's definitely headed for divorce and they're arguing and the kids are just kind of watching? It feels like that, where you immediately want to look away because this is uncomfortable, but someone is forcing you to look at it with like toothpicks in the eyelids or something. That's kind of what I felt like with this movie, and it wasn't a really pleasurable experience for me. Now, I do have to give Mikey Madison her dues. She is not a stripper from Brooklyn or something, and she really does a good job of putting on this accent, but in my opinion, it almost felt over the top. Being that she doesn't seem that way in real life at all, I do have to give her credit for that. I just don't know that this was a performance that warranted a Best Actress win, especially over people like Demi Moore in The Substance or even Cynthia Erivo in Wicked. Also, kind of because Mikey Madison does the same frantic screaming thing for a short period in her appearance in Quentin Tarantino's Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, so to me, I kind of felt like, okay, is there more range to this? I will give it to her that she does add more range towards the end of the movie, but I honestly felt like the performance for most of it was pretty homogenous. The highlight for me, character-wise, is Igor. He sort of brings a vulnerability to a guy that should just be hired muscle, and I thought that was interesting because he could have been very much another cliche. He's softened by his own inherent kindness. There was something very interesting about that character, very compelling performance, and I want to talk a little bit more about him in just a few minutes. Now, despite my complaints about this movie, like I said, there are some really great themes that it touches on, and I kind of want to talk about that. I feel like with The Substance, I kind of did the same thing, where I got too deep about it, and I kind of girl bossed too close to the sun analytically. I'm gonna do the same thing here, because every once in a while, a piece of art really makes you think, and even though I'm not giving Anora a particularly great review, there are some things in it that I thought were really worth analyzing, and I kind of want to talk about that with you guys. Warning, from this point on, there will be spoilers for Anora. If you don't want the film to be spoiled for you, I would click out, go watch it, come back, and we'll talk about it. Don't watch it with your children. Please do not blame that shit on me if they see some ass they weren't supposed to see. You've been warned. So Anora is an exotic dancer. She's no shrinking violet. We see that she's really good at getting what she wants from men. She's able to manipulate them while she's in the club to get them into private rooms, to get them to spend some money. And we also see that she's not one to shy away from a problem. Almost every woman in the club that she works with is catty and problematic. There's one character in particular that's a real pain in her side, and she never backs down. So we see that this is somebody who is street smart, probably incredibly jaded by life, but she's not an easy character to f with. And yet, when she meets Vanya, the son of a Russian oligarch, she falls for his bullshit almost immediately. This woman who dances for dozens of men a night at this club and knows the separation between exotic dancer and man paying for a dance, and yet with Vanya things are different and she falls right into it. Now granted, her falling for him is painted in basically just drug and alcohol fueled parties, again, awkwardly fast fests, and lots of shots of him playing video games and completely ignoring her, which that brings up another pet peeve. Can we ever bring anybody in who knows how to play video games to act like they're playing video games? Because they're always like just pressing too much. It looks like they're solving a Rubik's Cube. I don't know not one game that requires you to tap every button on a controller at a time. It just bothers me. But anyway, if you look at it at just the surface level, it's the two most annoying people you know starting a relationship very quickly that you know won't last. But having been in the dating world as a young woman myself, there is something really oddly relatable here. Anora is constantly trying to see more in Vanya than there actually is. He is a drugged up, alcoholic party boy who has never had to face any consequences for anything he's ever done because mommy and daddy are absolutely f***ing loaded and will resolve anything for him. So for him, life isn't like it is for Anora, who is a struggling exotic dancer. You never really get a lot of background into her life, but you can assume it hasn't been easy crazy. And even though Vanya has just the occasional glimmer of romance, for the most part, he's taking her places, he's introducing her to his friends, he's partying with her, and he is paying Anora in one of the most valuable currencies that you can pay to a woman, and that is attention. Anora, yes, seems enthused by the money and the lifestyle that he flaunts, but at the end of the day, what really gets her is the idea that Vanya could have chosen her, that he picked her out of every girl in the club that night, and for her, what she wants is to be his. She wants to be somebody's, not one of 40-something girls in bikinis at a club. And pretty much it works itself out very quickly that that's only what she wants to think, pretty much. Their relationship looks one-sided from the beginning. Even through some of their encounters, it seems he's very much just focused on doing what he wants to do, and he's never quite worried about how she feels about it. And it's tempting when you watch something like this to be like, how could somebody, a character like Anora, this street smart woman, fall for this shit? But the fact of the matter is the following, and I know not everybody will admit to this, and I know not everybody thinks this way, but the truth for a lot of people with this type of personality, what you're looking for is the opportunity to not be that. You're looking for the opportunity to be picked, to be taken care of. That's what Anora thought she had in Vanya, and that's why she spends all this time fighting to preserve that. She's being ignored by him, she's not being satisfied by him, and yet she stays there because you can see that she so wants it to be more. Anora was so desperate to be loved and chosen by somebody and accepted and treated like someone of value for her humanity and not her ability to dance at a strip club, that she was willing to forgive this absolute bozo's nonsense. And not only was she willing to forgive his bullshit, but she was willing to put him on a pedestal that he didn't quite deserve to be on. And beyond that, through the film, the character Igor that I mentioned earlier, he's honestly probably the most interesting character in the whole thing to me, because again, he could have been really easily like a Jason Statham type tough guy. And yet he's sometimes clumsy, he's goofy, he's awkward around Anora, and you see that he's probably just another victim of his circumstances like she is, and it makes him an incredibly compelling character, and it makes for those will they, won't they moments that develop between the two that much better, because you kind of see like, this guy's been burned by his existence, she's been burned by her existence, he might be the only person who really sees her for who she is. And the note that the film ends on, to me, really made me feel like the last 30 minutes of this film should have been pasted onto the back end of a different movie. Again, I really did not like most of this movie, and yet the end of it had so much depth. There's this point at the end where everything has been resolved when Anora tries to initiate the deed with Igor, and for her, this seems like a transactional thing. This is what she has to offer, this is what people want from her, this is probably just the best of her, this is what she thinks. Igor leans forward and tries to kiss her, and it's this moment where she freaks the f out and she starts crying, and the movie ends on that note. And if you're looking at it from a surface level, you might go like, what the f? But realistically, if this woman has only ever been valued for her body, right? And even when she was married to this young man, he only ever worried about his own satisfaction. This sort of rando who takes it upon himself to do something for her, not in a sexual or physical way, but it's this moment of affection that Anora has probably been lacking for years. And you see the vulnerability in her then. Anora, I think, had so much potential in the messages that it wanted to send and the themes that it touched upon. Unfortunately, I just feel like it was so hindered by what an absolute slogfest the rest of the movie was. And look, I'm not saying Anora is a bad movie. Obviously, we all have different perspectives. The Thing won Best Picture, and my dad actually watched this 2 days after I did, and we had some conversations about it, and he actually thought it was a great movie. So again, I'm not saying Anora is bad, I'm not saying it didn't deserve the Oscar wins or whatever. I'm just saying that personally, for me, I didn't think it was fantastic. It disappointed me in regards to all the Oscar hype. I thought it was going to be a lot better. I thought it was going to be different. But there was so much that this movie, I felt, had to unpack. And had it delivered it in a better way for the first part of the movie, it probably would have gotten a way better rating from me. Because I know that a 4.5 out of 10 is really low. But to be completely honest, I just didn't enjoy the movie for a good hour and a half, so I cannot give it a better rating based solely on the themes and everything established in the last half hour. Now, real quick, I want to talk about that Oscar campaign. So this movie did hit film festivals and win accolades. As an indie film, it did only cost $6 million to make, which $6 million for an indie film, holy shit. But it was later bought and distributed by Neon, and Neon spent $18 million marketing this thing to get it seen, to get Oscars for it. And I actually did some more digging on Neon because I thought that kind of made it seem like the Oscars are bought and paid for. But Neon was founded in 2017, and in 2019 they actually spent $20 million marketing the movie Parasite, which took home Best Picture that year. I just found that interesting and wanted to share. That being said, that is my review for Anora. I feel it was a movie with brilliant potential. It could have been so much better than it was. Unfortunately, it just wasn't the kind of movie that I enjoyed watching. The Oscars Academy seemed to have really liked it, but unfortunately it just wasn't for me, so I don't know that it would be for you. Either way, it is on Hulu right now, so if you want to make your own opinion, that's where you can go see it. And that's all from me. I've been SnarkyJay. Thank you so much for watching. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. For more SnarkyJay, be sure to check me out on Instagram, and if you'd like to support me, this channel, and my content creation, do check out and consider subscribing to my Patreon for exclusive photo shoot sets and cosplay content. I'll add links to all of those in the description below, and let me know your thoughts on Anora in the comments below.